Welcome to Monday Morning Monkin with Grep, Tip, and Ryan. Today we will be talking about what video game genre you would like to see deleted from all of existence, or not necessarily what you would like to see deleted, but what video game genre can you delete and all the games within it, and it impact us the least. So, with that said, Ryan, Tip, do you have any initial thoughts on the topic itself?
We're going to be hated.
Yeah, we're going to be hated pretty bad.
It's going to be a pretty controversial episode, as they all hopefully are.
Oh, of course.
Right. So
we have the hot takes here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I guess to start things off, is there any genre that you absolutely hate? Something that you've never played, you never will play. There's not a single game in that genre that you like.
It's grand strategy. I don't know why I even hesitated.
Grand strategy.
Grand strategy without a doubt.
And so we are we considering grand strategy as its own genre and not just a small part of strategy games?
I mean, I guess it would be like a subgenre under strategy, but it's very different things. Technically, you can have a strategy game be Fire Emblem and grand strategy because those both are strategy games, but they're nothing similar. They have nothing alike, really.
That's fair. I think we can go with subgenre, because that's a little more specific. You can't just say, I mean, if you say action, that's
that's every game.
I'm looking at the wiki right now. Under action, it says platform shooter, fighting, beat 'em up, stealth, survival, rhythm, and battle royale.
Rhythm games are considered action?
According to the wiki.
What else do we put them under?
Rhythm? Wikipedia lie? I put rhythm in its own thing.
Yeah, rhythm games are its own thing.
You can have a rhythm action game. What did I play recently? Shoot, what was that rhythm shooting game?
The bullets per minute, right?
Bullets per minute. That's really fun. So that's like rhythm and action.
What if Doom, but music?
Doom with music, yeah. So I mean, I hate grand strategy as well. Not for the fact that it's too complicated, but it just takes way too long to get anything done.
I will say that it's not a genre that I've ever dipped my toes into.
It is hard to dip your toes into it.
It doesn't seem like, I'm sure it's a hard sell just because whenever I watch them try to sell me on it in like a trailer or whatever, I'm like, wow, this looks riveting. And because it looks like the most basic, uninteresting
well, it's definitely not basic.
Well, yeah, I know it's not. It's obviously not basic, but as I'm watching the trailer, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's happening, and it doesn't look interesting enough for me to try to engage in.
And so, for those of you who don't know, grand strategy is things like Europa Universalis and Hearts of Iron, stuff like that, where you essentially control a nation or something, and parts of a nation. It's imagine Civ but bigger.
Civ's still considered grand strategy, though, isn't it?
Is Civ grand strategy? I guess it is.
Yeah, I mean, a lesser complicated version, because anything that Paradox Interactive makes, which is Hearts of Iron, Europa Universalis, and all that, is a step above, and just so many numbers and so many menus, so many different systems. But I think Civ would still be considered grand strategy.
So in that case, I don't know if I would want to delete that, because I personally enjoy Civ. I'm not a super Civ fanatic like some people are. But I understand that it has its place. I think it's a really good entry into the strategy genre, or I guess at least the grand strategy genre, because you're managing multiple towns and cities and your entire military.
Are we deleting grand strategy? I thought you just asked which genre do I dislike, because I dislike grand strategy, but it's definitely not my pick for what I delete.
Interesting. So what would you determine
it has to be something I play, or something I play, or I think just is too overdone. It's so common now, because grand strategy isn't really overdone. It's something I don't enjoy. So I don't care if it gets deleted or not, because I have no stake in it. But I think other genres would be
so you want spite delete?
Yeah, I would delete it out of spite. Absolutely.
Okay. And so when we say delete, are we deleting so are we saying that nothing can be made in that genre anymore, or would you not be able to play anything in that genre ever again?
I was thinking
it from the earth.
No, we're not purging the very memory of that genre. I was thinking more every game that's in that genre is all you can play now. We can't make any more games in that genre. Yeah. Like you've just you buried it. It's
so
dead.
Essentially, this becomes which genre is so oversaturated that there's no need to make anything else in this genre anymore without a significant alteration to the formula.
I mean, that would be my pick. I mean,
okay,
you guys obviously, whatever your definition is, but like if there's something I want to delete, I'm deleting it because I think there's just too many of the damn thing.
I think that makes sense because that means that we're not picking some just because we dislike it, like Grand Strategy. Yeah, because that's unfair. Because some people really like Grand Strategy. But like if there's something like, I don't want to give anything away.
Oh,
but like
surprise!
If there's something so overdone that it doesn't need to be done anymore. Okay, we'll go based on that then.
I feel like though, no matter what, there's always a way. A lot of times to create something that is, going to fall into that overly saturated market, but it introduces some sort of new and fresh concept that justifies its existence. But
that's extremely fair. So the thing that comes to the top of my mind is Battle Royale right now. It's extremely oversaturated at the moment. Essentially, the only thing that does anything remotely different in the Battle Royale genre, I feel, is Fortnite with the building stuff, and even then it's still you're just creating cover for yourself.
You're telling me you're not excited for the Final Fantasy VII Battle Royale spinoff coming to mobile?
So I'm actually I'll play that. Don't think I won't.
Oh,
really? You're gonna play that?
I was gonna play it if you were gonna play it.
Why on earth would I play it? I'm the fan of the Final Fantasy dork, and I wouldn't even touch that.
I thought you were gonna play it just because it said Final Fantasy.
Well, you would think that, but I have at least some kind of semblance of pride or good taste.
Do you really?
No, I don't, but I'm going to pretend that I do on this one thing. This is where I put my foot down. I'm not going to play
it looks really bad.
7 themed Battle Royale on my phone.
It looks as bad, if not worse, than the Resident Evil multiplayer that they came out with for our Resident Evil 8. It sort of looks like a mod.
What if we miss super important story beats that are told in that game?
I'm sure they would.
Yeah.
Wait, we already know the story of Final Fantasy VII. Oh, I guess it's a different story.
Hey, hold on a minute.
You fool.
What is it? Is it like before Final Fantasy VII?
It's supposed to be set. I think it's like 5 years or 10 years or something like that. So it's like the height of the soldier program with.
So it's like being a new cross, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just like dump lore in your face.
Basically, yeah.
That's gonna suck.
But I mean, you're not gonna care about it for the lore. You want to shoot people, I guess, in Final Fantasy, but on your phone for some reason.
Yeah, on your phone, definitely. That's what I think.
Yeah. It's a Battle Royales. You think Fortnite's the only good Battle Royale? Is that your final opinion?
So I played a lot of PUBG, but I only played it because I like janky stuff. And PUBG is really janky. And I think that works towards its advantage. I played Realm Royale, which is the same people who did Paladins. And that was actually pretty solid. That's actually quite a good Battle Royale. It's very standard though.
Is that the one with the chicken?
The one you turn into a chicken.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Cool. So if you
that was pretty interesting.
Turn to a chicken, you have to wait a little bit to get back up. I think if
it was a timer, right? It was like 15 seconds, 20 seconds or something like that.
It's fun. You go Yeah, so Realm Royale is pretty good.
You play Apex?
I didn't play Apex, but that seemed really good though, honestly. Because it's class based. So you can actually like have some semblance of a strategy instead of just roaming around and hopefully jump up on somebody.
I mean, I played like an hour of Apex, and the entire time all I could think of was that I could be playing Titanfall 2 instead, because it's literally what Apex is, except without the Titan.
Titanfall 2 is really good.
So it felt like a weird watered down version of a game that I already adore.
So is there something that we can add to Battle Royale to make it fresh again? Or can we snip it?
I don't know. I mean, BR as a genre is I don't want to say dying, but it's dropped off in popularity a lot, hasn't it? Isn't Fortnite like, because it used to have like 3 billion players, now it's like not nearly as popular.
Yeah, it's not nearly dead at all, but of course, but people say dead game, but
If we delete Battle Royale, does that mean we can never have classic balloon battle in Mario Kart again?
Well, hang on.
What?
That's not a battle royale. That's
count.
an arena match. That's like a
match, yeah.
PvP
Seems like
type
that
situation.
Could I feel like, well, then what's the difference? Because it's just a battle of the death.
No. Well, that's a death match, and multiplayer's had that, since its inception. No, the battle royale, the main things are being dropped off into a map and having to run around that map really quickly to find equipment, and then there's something forcing you to get to the center. There's like a storm, or a wall of fire, or magic, whatever it is, that's forcing you into the center like of the area, so that it's forcing players together. So there's always constant action, or supposed to be constant action.
I didn't realize the wall was what made it battle royale.
I mean, not necessarily, but I mean, it definitely.
Those are the two big things, I think.
Well, you're technically getting equipment in Mario Kart as well.
I played,
but I see what you're saying.
I played Warzone a bit, Call of Duty Warzone. I think that was very fun, but it only had the one map, so that got extremely old quickly.
Well, it changes, right, with seasons?
Unless they changed it recently, which they might have with Cold War. But for the Modern Warfare era, that's when I played the most.
Yeah,
it essentially didn't change. It didn't change at all. Maybe it added like one area to it. But so it got old pretty quick.
It was pretty popular, wasn't it? I remember people saying that was like, after Apex and Fortnite, that was like the third big pillar of like the battle royale community.
It was good.
Warzone was just like solid
because it was Call of Duty.
Yeah, good gameplay.
Yeah,
it's just it's been the same gameplay for a decade and a half, because it works. It's fun.
But the Modern Warfare engine was very solid. It was a very solid engine to work off of. Do you consider Fall Guys to be a battle royale? Do you know? Have you seen any gameplay of that?
I mean,
it's a bunch of dudes.
Man, it's a bunch of people. You're getting knocked out one by one until like the last person stands. I'd say it has battle royale leanings, but I don't necessarily would call it.
I don't know,
battle royale.
So this is the problem with this conversation. It's because nothing is actually purely a single genre usually, because Call of Duty Warzone, at least, is a shooter as well. So we have to take that stuff into consideration as well.
Oh God.
So I guess if we're gonna define it, then I guess battle royale would have to be the drop in style. Like you drop into a place and it closes in on you. Where I don't even know what you'd classify Fall Guys as. Platformer battle royale.
What the internet has to say.
I was thinking like almost like an arena match.
I don't know,
because it's really just a series of quick PvP multiplayer matches, like
kind of.
Because it chooses a random task for you to do.
Battle royale game.
Platforming battle royale.
I think it is. Yeah, that's what I thought. I think it's a battle royale. I think battle royale should be defined as like large group of people compete, and there's like only like one winner or one group that's the winner.
Or one squad or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Instead of the classic two teams or a free for all. I mean, I guess free for all is battle royale, but you have respawning and like shooting battle royale or shooting free for alls like Call of Duty. So I'd say battle royale is you drop in, there's no respawning, so and then winner take all.
See, I feel like Fall Guys is like an example of how battle royale can continue to expand and evolve.
Yeah, and, it's pretty fun. It's not a bad game. It gets old.
We definitely had a point where it was, and we're still kind of in it because Final Fantasy is doing one now. But just constant, everyone's making a battle royale game, and it was getting old real fast. But maybe now it's kind of we've gotten all out of our systems, and
maybe someone can innovate a little bit,
do something interesting.
So let's keep that in our mind. I think we should move on and discuss other genres.
Does gacha count as a genre?
So gacha isn't those aren't games. That's an addiction and a drug.
Gacha, not
anything,
even once.
Anything gacha should be deleted.
Ever before have I been so offended by something that I 100% agree with.
And I know both of you play gacha games, and I
What?
almost.
I'm sure this
No.
is our hottest take ever that no one will ever agree with.
I could not get into like I was playing SMT DX2 Liberation, so Shin Megami Tensei DX2 Liberation, which is a gacha game, but I just couldn't get into it. And I didn't want to get into it because it would suck my life away. Essentially, what you get is toned down gameplay, and then a bunch of RNG mechanics.
For the most part, I'm not into gacha, and every time I try, I've tried a couple of them, and every time I sit down and try,
you
to
like
play
Fire
one,
Emblem Heroes, right?
Yeah, fine. And that's the only one that's like stuck. Like every other, I've tried. I tried the Fate Stay Night one, or the Fate one,
Fate
Grand Order.
Yeah.
I tried that, and I couldn't get into it. I tried Dragalia Lost. I couldn't get into that one. And there's been one or two others that I've tried as well, and they've never. Pokemon Masters I played for like 2 days. Like, this sucks. A lot of I think a lot of the time those games do kind of, they just don't appeal to me, and I think
Well, they're cash grabs. So
and I think with Fire Emblem, it's just that it is kind of I wouldn't even say it's necessarily watered down Fire Emblem. It's just it's Fire Emblem, but different in a way.
It seems extremely unbalanced.
It is absolutely imbalanced.
Power creep is the word of the day.
It's hilariously imbalanced.
I don't know if we should be putting gacha into this.
Honorable mention
gacha, just because I feel like it'd be too easy, because it's straight up just a predatory.
I'd love model. For them to delete that off the plane of existence, so that I don't feel like playing it anymore, because I don't have a choice.
Yeah. All right. So instead of that, let's talk about. Let's go. I'm just going to go from the top of this list. Platform games. A lot of people like platformers. Mario's. I like Super Meat Boys. So I think platform games still have space to grow.
Platform games are definitely not have gone through their oversaturation.
That's been oversaturated in the early 2000s,
and we're well.
I'd say even earlier than that.
Maybe even earlier than that.
I'd say the 90s into the early 2000s. Well, we had like all the mascot platformers.
It peaked with like Super Mario World, which was awesome for 2D, I think. But like recent stuff like Celeste is fantastic. Ryan, have you played Celeste?
I have not.
You should play Celeste.
What's wrong with you?
It's so good. It's the best platformer. I think it's my favorite platformer of all time. It's like everything about it is so clean. Soundtrack's fantastic. Looks amazing, and it gives you enough challenge. Like it has accessibility stuff for people who need that, but also like to 100% it, you need to do some insane platforming stuff. It's a lot of fun.
My issue is like I 2D platformers. I've just realized over time that I am not as into them as I used to be.
You see, that's what I said too, and then I played Celeste.
That's what you said too.
I tell Tip all the time that I'm not a platformer guy.
Really,
but I played Celeste and I freaking love Celeste. I like Super Meat Boy. It's pretty fun too.
He says it a lot where he's like, "Yeah, I don't really like platformers. I don't know why anyone plays them." And then he sees a game. And I'm like, yeah, I've been playing this. He's like, oh, you know what? This seems interesting. And then he mentions it.
I played 3D platforms at least. So with the oversaturation of 3D platformers, I played Jack 1 recently, and it's fun for sure, but it's definitely like kind of jank.
It's of an era. It didn't age too gracefully.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the 3D platformers didn't really age too well. Except for like Super Mario 64, which is
Super Mario 64 still didn't really age very well.
I think it did comparatively.
I think it could definitely use a remaster. I think a remaster would be great, but like it definitely.
Everything I wanted. I mean, Odyssey
I played it recently too, and I was like, wow, this game didn't age that well.
Odyssey fills that itch, though. I feel Odyssey feels great.
Yeah,
and so like between Odyssey and Celeste, I think that covers like that 2D and 3D platformers.
Yeah, Mario still have
things that they can do.
Platformer genre on its back.
Absolutely.
Hat in Time is helping out.
Wait a second.
Hat in Time is fun.
Wait, carrying 3D genre on its back. Like Crash just came back. We had the remaster,
Crash
which was
come
fun,
back.
and then Crash 4 just came back, which is if you like the first 3 Crashes, congratulations.
You
it's
like
that with like
Crash.
a couple more powers. Like that just came back. Ratchet and Clank, I guess, is more of an action platformer, but
yeah, that's more.
That
action.
series came back from 2016, 2017, whenever the reboot was, and we just got Rift Apart. So there are other 3D platformers, but I mean, obviously, if you're gonna ask someone like, what is the 3D platformer, I'd say Mario, but it's not the only one.
Yeah, for sure.
There are others coming out that are still doing pretty well, and
so I think it's safe to say that platformers can stay for sure. Like there's room to grow.
Platformers need to stay
another day
for one reason and one reason only, because platformers include all Metroidvanias, and it includes action platformers like Mega Man.
So I thought
anything that's Metroidvania, anything that's Mega Man, I want.
Okay, I don't know if I'd call them. I mean, Metroidvanias are platforms, but that's more like I put them in their own little pocket.
They're exploration-based platformers.
Yeah, I mean, how much platforming are you really doing in Metroid though?
A lot.
I mean,
like quite a bit.
Yeah, there's.
It's Hollow Knight mostly came out. That's a lot of platforming too. It's a lot of jumping, wall sliding.
Yeah,
not falling into lava pits.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. True. Hollow Knight's great. All right, so we'll keep platform.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased. It's the one genre I would never allow to get.
This is such a hard question though. So, like,
well, for some of us, yeah,
it
would be.
I mean, I'm trying to think about it critically.
Are you saying that I'm not thinking of it critically?
No, you're biased.
How am I biased? What? I have two very, very good solutions for this question.
We can take a picture of your wall and see what you're biased towards. You got all this nerd paraphernalia.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of RPGs and a lot
RPGs. That's what we can talk about. Let's get rid of RPGs.
A lot of platformers.
We're sick of RPGs. One of my favorite series, SMT/Persona, and I never want to go through another 100-hour game again. I just finished Persona 5 Royale, like a month ago.
Well, when you say RPGs, because it's a huge genre, then we can do
turn-based.
Turn-based action, like JRPG, Western RPG, because those are basically two different genres too.
Let's talk turn-based.
Turn-based.
Garbage. Is Xenoblade a turn-based RPG?
No, it's cooldown based.
Yeah. Which I mean,
so is Final Fantasy a cooldown based RPG, not a turn based RPG? Final Fantasy 7 at least?
7 remake.
7.
Well, 7 is kind of regular. 7 still is. I mean,
I consider 7 remake an action RPG.
Well, yeah, because it is. That's why I wanted to clarify. The ATB system, I would say, it's real time in that like you can't just sit there and wait. But for all intents and purposes, the ATB system is still turn based because you have to wait your turn.
I mean, that's kind of similar to the Xenoblade. I mean, I think it's cooldown based. I guess it plays more like an MMO.
Well, so I guess the difference is in Final Fantasy, you're waiting your turn to then do anything. Versus in Xenoblade, you perform a move, and then that move specifically has a cooldown, but you have like 7 other moves you can also do, and you can run around.
So it plays like an MMO.
And you have automatic attacks
honestly,
and stuff like that.
Yeah, it does. I didn't really think about that.
So it's an MMORPG, but single player. That's awkward. No.
Single player MMO.
That's style, because I don't know what you would call that.
I mean, cooldown based.
I'll Google it.
Cooldown based.
Which I guess is what an MMO is, because if you think like WoW or Final Fantasy 14, like they have the global cooldown, so it's cooldown based gaming.
It calls it action role playing.
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah.
What's the Elder Scrolls series? Is that action role playing?
God, is it? It might actually be considered action role playing, but I sure as hell wouldn't consider it that.
Open world.
Just say open world.
Open world action. Just tack on every single descriptive word.
Just to put action at the start of any genre, and you can. Open world action puzzle.
Now we need non-action games.
Some puzzles.
Yes.
Puzzle games. That's like it. Oh, and I guess like farm sims. And that's not true because Stardew Valley is action too, because you go into the dungeon.
So I guess would you call it is a JRPG just classified by Japanese? It's Japanese.
Yeah, that's what the J is for, as far as I'm aware.
I mean, yeah.
it was also two different like styles of gameplay. Where Japanese RPGs are very like very like plot driven, where like there's a very like wide overarching story that you're going through. So think of like every Dragon Quest, every Final Fantasy, there's always like, the big bad guy, and like you're going towards that person, like you meet the party members along the way, and like first you save a cat, then you kill God.
That sounds okay. That sounds.
But Western RPG is like usually very open-ended with like a lot of like dialogue choices, and like you kind of create your own story. Obviously there's a plot, there's something that you're doing, but your dialogue choices and your actions in the story very heavily influence where the game goes.
I don't like
usually
Western
two different
RPGs.
Things. Like at all?
I don't know. It's just the ones I played, which is I enjoy. I know. I guess I enjoyed the ones I played. I just don't have any urge to play them, like Mass Effect. Because I mean, I like Mass Effect. Maybe I should just play them.
Well, if you start playing Mass Effect, Ryan has to start playing Mass Effect.
And then if we start playing Mass Effect, we'd do a video on Mass Effect.
Oh, I haven't played that in like 15 years or some nonsense.
No. Anyway,
I plan on playing it when I get home.
Really? Do you?
I decided I'm gonna wait.
I don't believe you, because you
say that a lot.
You've been saying that you're gonna play the Legendary Edition for like months now.
That's a big commitment, Ryan, and you're not really about that.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Are you saying I can't commit?
I didn't say that.
Oh, that's definitely what he said. Can you commit to like
I can commit to 3
hours of
games.
gameplay?
I can commit to 3 Mass Effect games, okay?
I don't think so.
Anyway, so is Dark Souls a JRPG? Or is that?
It would just put it in an action RPG. Yeah.
So an action RPG is just like it's an action game, but with like RPG elements, like leveling up and skills and classes and things.
Yeah, usually.
Okay.
Because I mean, you can have something like Devil May Cry, which is usually just considered an action game, even though
there's no like RPG mechanics. I mean, you can unlock skills, but that's not an RPG.
Very light, yeah. There's not a whole lot of.
And then you have like that's not RPG. You have like Dark Souls where you have levels and classes you can pick and you build a character up.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get your equipment and everything too. You're just like building up a character.
So I definitely think
character sheet essentially.
You can't get rid of action RPG because Elden Ring's coming out. For sure.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And I mean, if they just keep making Souls games for the rest of eternity, I mean, I'm okay with that. We're not getting rid of that. As for JRPG,
Dark Souls 4.
JRPGs are coming a long way. They got rid of random encounters. Most of the games have gotten rid of random encounters. Persona 5 was super stylish.
Can we
SMT5's coming out.
Can we just delete, like, instead of a genre, a game mechanic? Because I would love to delete
game mechanic. Encounters. That's pretty much gone already.
I was supposed to say, random encounters are effectively gone now.
I don't know a single game or a single like big RPG that has random encounters.
Pokemon.
Even Pokemon's getting rid of them because you can see them in the grass and they have the wild area now.
There's very little.
Game Freak's gonna get rid of that. They change everything every game.
So you're implying that Pokemon is good and you should play it anyway.
No. I would never accuse anyone of playing it. But I'm just you said big RPGs. That's a random encounter based.
According to the wiki, Pokemon is considered a monster tamer, which I guess so is SMT.
The original Pokemon.
Yeah. So I guess let's say that role play any role playing thing is good to go still, because I mean it feels like improvements are being made, and we still want action RPGs for sure.
Yeah, I feel like there's generally every single year there's like a pretty stellar title that comes out that falls under each purview of RPG. Like there's usually like a really stellar Western RPG. There's usually really stellar JRPG. There's usually one that's really well done that's turn-based, one that's really well done that's like action-based. So like it still has its heyday every year.
I'm looking forward to Tales and SMT5. I'm hoping both of those are very good.
If SMT5 ends up sucking, what will you do with your life?
Oh, I don't know. I'd probably jump off a bridge. I've been waiting for that for a very long time. So it looks good. Looks good from what I've seen.
That last gameplay
it was
reveal
cool.
they did looked pretty good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like just a.
It looks like Nocturne too.
It does, yeah, which is exactly what the fan base wanted. So
what?
It's a perfect day.
Well, people were mixed on SMT4 Apocalypse because it was very power of friendship kind of story. So there wasn't really the whole thing with SMT is that you have multiple endings that you can pick and not really any one is good. It's kind of like up to your perspective. Like what's the least crappy ending? Whether you law or chaos or neutral. But in Apocalypse, there's clearly a good ending.
Is the power of friendship.
Perhaps. I don't want to spoil anything there.
Really? You think either of us is going to play SMT4? Do you think any of our listeners would play SMT4?
Really? Not many people play SMT4 Apocalypse. Not many people play SMT games anymore. So
yeah. What is 5 supposed to do? It's supposed to revitalize the series.
I'm hoping they've been promoting it pretty hard. So
get some new blood.
Oh, we'll see. Anyway, so we'll keep role playing stuff. Oh wait, you said no. We'll just stay with our original question. Let's get rid of the genre. Adventure games. What's an adventure game?
Well, it's where you go on an adventure, Grep.
Wow, crazy.
Which means it's kind of a useless genre description. It's kind of like saying an action game because.
So let's ignore that.
I go. You know what? So if you're having an adventure game, it's almost always paired with action. So action adventure, which really describes the Legend of Zelda series, describes Tomb Raider,
so we'll do action adventure. So we can't get rid of action adventure because Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. essentially, if there's something that we're looking forward to, we can't get rid of it.
Are we biased?
Yes, very. But the thing is, Breath of the Wild is super fun, and Breath of the Wild 2 looks super fun. So
very excited for that.
You'll hear no complaints here.
Yeah. What else is an action adventure though?
I was actually just looking it up because I was curious what it was, and the Spider-Man games are described as action adventure as well. So we double have to keep.
But a lot of those are also mad good.
Yeah, so like any of those
always use more games. Spider-Man games, especially freaking the most recent one.
Yeah, the new Spider-Man games are fire.
Jeez, that's so cool looking. I can't they improve the web swing every single time.
Yeah, I love
so much time
Spider-Man.
just swinging around New York. It was like therapeutic. Just you could fast travel in that game, which is hilarious because I never used it. It was so much fun just swinging and getting to the next area. Like the actual movement mechanic itself was the gameplay, and it was just fun to do.
Are open world games like Far Cry and stuff action adventure, or would you just consider that a shooter?
I could see Far Cry being action adventure.
I think
any action being shooting,
like Assassin's Creed too.
Oh, Assassin's Creed was without a doubt action adventure. I'd say, yeah. I forgot that series existed.
I think there's a lot of work that can be done with action adventure. I don't think it's dead in the water then, by any means. I think because Spider-Man set a really good example. I think the Assassin's Creeds could, from what I've seen, could use some work, at least with just engaging the player with interesting things to do with the world. Because open worlds are generally boring, in my opinion.
The new leak about Assassin's Creed that was confirmed by Ubisoft immediately.
Was that the multi-generational expanding thingy material?
Yeah, they're doing Assassin's Creed Infinity. So when everyone joked that Assassin's Creed is never going to end, it is now literally never going to end.
It's literally going to be one. Is it going to be just one Assassin's Creed and they just keep adding stuff to it?
So it's
a service.
Yeah, their confirmation of it because it was leaked and they're like, yep, that's happening. It seems like they're going to be doing multi-generational where you're effectively playing different eras and different characters and finishing a story for that character. But they also still made it seem like they'd be doing a main plot line where they have the future and the past plot lines for standalone games. Okay. I don't really see how those two things coexist, but I guess they still want to do standalone games and then have their infinity or infinite. Is it infinite or infinity? I think it's infinity. Their infinity where you just keep playing Assassin's Creed forever. And it's like, oh, every 6 months or whatever, they add a new
Like
area or a
expansion
new
or something.
character. Yeah. Which is interesting, I guess.
That's interesting, but then you will stagnate over time. I mean,
how do you differentiate it with the same engine? And
with the same engine, yeah.
I feel like one of the only things that comes with a new Assassin's Creed game is that the combat mechanics and the tools and the traversal mechanics change slightly with each iteration. So if you're keeping it in the same game, in the same engine, can they really change a whole lot about the combat and the traversal?
They can't really.
And the tools.
Think.
I don't know if they'd be able to differentiate each area or each character well enough to justify that.
Yeah,
it's a while out.
Concerning.
So we'll find out eventually.
Yeah.
I say I won't play it. I haven't played Assassin's Creed in like 3 games. That's not true, actually.
You played Origins.
Yeah, it was on sale, so I bought it.
Me and Taylor started Odyssey, and I might go back and play Odyssey just because I like Greece.
Well, the world in Odyssey is beautiful.
Yeah, it's great looking. And I might do it on my own time later. But it is a lot. Like, it's a long grind, though.
Ryan, have you played Assassin's Creed ever?
No, I've thought about playing Black Flag, but other than that,
that's the best one.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's why.
Two is very good.
I feel like I could
though.
play Black Flag, and then I'll be like good.
You probably will. I mean, yeah.
Well, it helps too. So there's a really long overarching storyline throughout Assassin's Creed, which I feel like a lot of people don't care about, but like that's how they justify each game coming out. But 4 basically resets the story and it's kind of separate from the rest of the plot. So you can play 4 and have no idea about like Templars and assassins and like present day nonsense and shenanigans, because it kind of just plays by itself. It has a different story. Here's pirates, get in a boat, blows people up, have fun. You don't have to care about any of that.
Yeah.
There's no baggage.
Yeah, I'll have to pick that up at some point.
That's got to be like $3 at this point, right? That game's like
I'm sure
8 years old, 7 years old.
Pennies.
A ton of them are dirt cheap.
Man.
Anyways, genres that we would delete.
Not action
keeping
adventure,
action adventure.
We are keeping action adventure. Just because there's room. I don't think there's definitely room.
Which is weird.
Let's go shooters.
Oh, shooters.
So shooters have been essentially you have your battlefields, which are cool. They're big open. So we have Battlefield 2048 coming out, which looks very good.
I'm so excited for that, and I shouldn't be.
I'm not excited for it, but it looks good. I think though the weather thing is really cool. So especially with like newer hardware, shooters can expand with these big, huge open battles and in like building destruction, like Battlefield has been doing,
like a true all-out warfare type
like a
situation.
True war. And then you have the smaller combat stuff, like what COD does, where it's generally not big team battles. You're going in, it's kind of like arcadey and flicky, and then you have things like Doom, I guess, where it's single player based and I don't know, just kind of movement shooters, I guess.
I don't know what I would call movement shooter.
Doom is a movement shooter for sure.
No, it's just like that seems like kind of a weird name for it, because then that's how I would describe like Titanfall or Apex Legends, because it's very movement based as well. But it's
multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean that's also true. Yeah. Movement based. I'd almost call it arena based, because basically every room you ever walk into,
they do call it arena
Doom
shooters.
or Doom Eternal is an arena of demons to kill, and that's
I think they call it arena shooter. So,
well, that's what you call like
Quake.
Yeah, Quake and the original Halos when you're doing multiplayer, because it's basically smaller, compact little areas where you're all trying to like get the weapon, get the loadout, and kill each other over it. But I guess that's what Doom kind of is, just single player wise.
Yeah. Ryan, do you play shooters? Any shooter at all?
No. Mass Effect is the closest I've gotten.
What? How? Ryan, how
Ryan
dare you?
Like guns. So.
No, you've played a shooter because we've played it together. It's called Splatoon.
I was about to say I don't count Splatoon.
Oh,
I mean,
Splatoon is.
I guess Splatoon is an arena shooter.
Splatoon is
Yeah,
like
it
a
is.
half shooter because you can play like half
It's like
the
a third
weapons in that
person.
aren't even guns.
But they're guns.
With that being said, I do play the guns, so like
They are.
I guess
They
that
are
is a shooter, but
for all intents and purposes, they are guns. Just
They're
for like
melee
bullet
guns.
dropping.
the
And there's melee.
paintbrush and the roller are not guns.
There's melee. You can knife in Call of Duty. Stuff like that. You can do a range attack with the roller.
Yeah, you can. So it's still a gun.
It's a gun.
It's a gun. It flings paint.
Definitely
Guys,
not just
is a paint roller a gun? Yeah.
I'm describing it as a gun now.
Breath of the Wild has a bow in it too. It must be a shooter.
Well, no, because it's not a gun.
It's not a gun.
Who cares?
Oh,
A bow is not a gun, but
It's
a paint
gun, but
roller
not
is a
bow.
gun. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I don't know how you're confused about this.
Yeah, I don't know either. I must
Paint
not be very
is
smart.
like bullets. Arrows aren't like bullets. They're nothing alike.
Yeah,
Because
naturally.
when you see a paint droplet like falling in midair, it takes that that kind of cylindrical shape as it's falling, and that's what a bullet looks like. Arrows don't look like that, Ryan. So clearly, paint equals bullet. Arrow equals pointy stick. It's not important. Who cares?
Obviously.
26. Definitely not a gun.
How
No.
could I have been so wrong?
I'd say we can't get rid of shooters for two reasons. One, you touched on it a little bit with Battlefields, in that with the way the technology is going, you can do bigger and bigger arenas or bigger and bigger areas with more and more players, more and more destruction. So like shooters can keep progressing in just how big and bombastic the action can get. But on the other front of it would be VR, where you can also go into like more simulation based stuff where like the better we get at VR, the better we get in that area. You can start playing stuff because like Arma exists,
Pavlov's
and
pretty
Insurgency
fun. Pavlov
exists, where like there's more like sim shooters where you can start getting those like really, really fine tuned to like 1-to-1 type situations. And we're getting pretty close to that. But next like decade or so, I think VR shooters can really, really progress and be really cool.
The closest we have now is Pavlov, which is like Counter-Strike kind of, but it has like team deathmatch and stuff. That's pretty close. And it's fun too. Not balanced, but
I think there's a lot of room for growth.
I agree
for either of those areas.
We'll leave it there. Next I have on the list is fighting games. So your Street Fighters, your anime fighters. I'm almost ready to kill fighting games because I have the only one I need, and it's Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's so pretty.
You don't want a sequel to Dragon Ball FighterZ?
They can just can you add DLC? Just add more characters.
Yeah, you know what? I guess DLC isn't a new game. It's adding to the already existing structure. I'll allow it. Yeah. So you can get more characters.
Yeah, Dragon Ball FighterZ is a ton of fun. Fighting games are. Do you count Smash as a fighting game, or is that like a brawl? That's a brawler, I think.
Smash is a party game, Gary.
Shut up.
According to Sakurai.
Sakurai doesn't know what he's talking about. He's stuck in the basement, locked up, forced to work on Piranha Plant.
They let him out of the basement for approximately 30 minutes to an hour at a time so he can stare at a camera and be like, hey, I'm actually a developer and I'm going to sit here and tell you about like the game I've been making. Please don't save me because I'm in no danger whatsoever. Nintendo doesn't hold my soul. And then they lock him back under Nintendo headquarters, and you don't see Sakurai again for another year.
All right. So we'll loop brawling and fighting games in this category, I guess. So games where you are versing your opponent. It's a big old mind game. Whether or not you're doing it for fun doesn't matter. Essentially, you're on equal ground and you're fighting. Combos, stuff like that.
I'm surprised that you think the fighting game should be deleted because I feel like there is still like plenty of room to expand on that genre.
Well, we got Smash and we got Dragon Ball FighterZ. We're done. Boom.
We got the two that we need, boys.
And then I don't like any of the slower 3D fighters like Street Fighter or Tekken.
Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat. We have Guilty Gear.
Mortal Kombat's
Blue.
right.
We've got a lot of different games.
We have a lot of fighters, and they're all essentially the same. And they haven't.
So untrue.
Sure.
What?
I'm the premise.
People are angrily showing up to your house as we speak.
Gary, listen. So
enlighten me, please.
Look, I can play through certain games, and some of those skills will translate over because I'm pretty good at Mortal Kombat. I'm pretty good at BlazBlue. I suck at Tekken, and you'd be like, oh, well, they're the same thing, but like Tekken having the full, like, what do they call that, 6-axis or 8-axis? I can't remember what it's actually called.
That is 3D.
You can like move in really any space in that arena. I'm just not used to that, and so like as soon as you add that extra element, I can't beat like the AI at like level 3 out of 10. Like I suck at it. And then something like Street Fighter, I also like, I don't translate well with my skill set because it's a very technical fighter in how you don't really have all that many options to do a thing, but because there's so few options, they're very pure, and like it becomes way more of a mind game where you have things like BlazBlue or Guilty Gear, or even like Mortal Kombat with like the X-ray system, stuff like that. Like there's more options, there's more variety, which means that there's more things to learn, but it also means that there's like more ways to react around it, where like a lot of times in Street Fighter, like your options are block consistently and perfectly and wait for your moment where there's just enough recovery frames like on your opponent to actually like retaliate. So those are 4 different types of things in the fighting game genre. And it's not even counting like tag team systems like Marvel vs. Capcom or BlazBlue, the cross tag arena.
I usually hate tag based systems too, but Dragon Ball hit that itch pretty well.
Wait, yeah, Dragon Ball. I forgot that's
it's
a tag system too.
It is a tag system. So you're thinking, so what can we add to this genre? What's preventing you from cutting it out?
Well, I think it's just that like with different combat systems and all these different games, I don't know if every type of combat system or modification has been done to allow for like more granularity in how you react to your opponent. Because the way you react to your opponent in, Street Fighter or Tekken or Smash or, BlazBlue are entirely different. And I don't know if we've explored all those options on like how do you get into your opponent's headspace? How do you react against them? And I think there could be interesting things that you can still look forward to and how to defeat your opponent. Like if you look at it like at a base value, it seems like, oh yeah, like person A is just punching person B, but there's so much under the hood that could still be tweaked and still allow for like more growth, I feel.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess we can keep this.
Also, I'm biased, obviously.
You're not even that into fighting games.
Not anymore. I used to be really, really into them, which is a shame because Guilty Gear Strive just came out. I'm hearing some mixed stuff on it, and I want to be excited for it. And I can't get into my fighting game.
I didn't like the Strive beta at all. It felt wonky. It feels like the combos are extremely set in stone. You can't really improvise that much. I could just be bad though.
I think we're all bad at video games.
Well, yeah. But mostly Ryan.
This is true. I'm just a gamer. No capital G.
Oh, why are you even here?
Oh, no.
How can you comment on these genres? Besides Smash, what fighting games have you played, Ryan?
PlayStation All Stars, baby.
PlayStation All Stars. I played I haven't played it in forever, but I did play some Mortal Kombat. But other than that, there hasn't really been much in terms of fighting, unless I'm forgetting something, which I probably am.
I feel like it's kind of a hard genre to get into. You either, generally speaking, you get into fighting games because you have a friend or a family member who's into them, and they're like, "Hey, like, will you play with me? Because I want someone to play against."
Friend.
And like they kind of like guide you into it, like, "Oh, here, like here's how you block. Here's how you do, a combo. Here's how you react to your opponent."
The tutorials that you react to, like, usually,
yeah, they're not very good. Actually,
they tell you what you can do.
They're getting better.
They are getting better. It is slow. You still, like, for them to get better, they have to extend the length of them, and that is agonizing.
Yeah, that's true. If you Gosh, what was? There's so many BlazBlue games, and I can't remember. Is it Phantasm? Is it the last one? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But the last tutorial for that one, legit has like 50 steps in the tutorial, and each one is extremely good at teaching you how to do it. But if you sat down and purchased that game and then played through the entire tutorial, like you would never touch a fighting game ever, it would literally take you hours and hours to get through it to feel like you had learned all the systems. And that's a lot of time to invest before you're like really actually enjoying yourself. And then same with Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat's new tutorial system is really structured, and it's pretty in depth on how to react to your opponents and like how to mix up like your attacks and just be a good player. But again, you'd be sitting there doing those for hours, and then you're not doing any of the arcade, you're not doing any like online matches, you're not even doing like any like story-based modes. You'd just be sitting there learning. And I don't know if people would be willing to do that.
I like the ones that, so Dragon Ball Fighter Z, that it has some stuff that teaches you some example combos, and I think that helps a lot. So it gives you some basic combos and it gives you some more advanced combos that you can try out. So they give you some stuff so you don't have to like look online immediately.
I'm not even necessarily meaning the combos. I meant more like the
just like gameplay mechanics.
How to themselves. Play. Yeah, like how to
it's
effectively play a fighting game. Which I like Smash's approach, by the way, where it's like, hey, A button does this, B button does this, control stick plus any of those are your attacks. Congratulations, you can now play Smash, and the tutorial is over.
Yeah,
it's like a 10-second video. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
We'll find a way to explain it for 30 minutes, though.
Yeah, he
definitely.
will.
All right.
And we love him for it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you almost sound disappointed about that, but I love hearing him talk about just any random thing that he fixates on for 20 minutes. And he's like, anyway, so I was actually talking about video games, like my video game. So here's the new character. It's like, holy crap, Zachary.
All right.
Yeah, get that man a podcast.
Man, this is going to run really long. All right, let's try to speed up our categories here.
We're going to do a speed round of genres.
We got stealth games. I guess that's like Metal Gear. Metal Gear's dead though.
Isn't that a dead genre anyway? Splinter Cell's dead.
Splinter Cell's dead. Metal Gear's dead. Which means it's open for new blood.
Hitman kind of is a stealth game.
Hitman still keeps going on. It's like a sandbox game, but it is stealth.
Sandbox stealth. So Hitman A is doing well, isn't it?
Hitman is fun. I played Hitman 2 recently. I want to play 3, but it was solid. Like it's really fun. They give you a lot of options. I think Blood Money still takes the cake, but I think there's a lot more that can be done with like sandbox stealth, like Hitman.
I mean, I feel like we could go like a lot of great places with stealth, but I feel like going back to Spider-Man, like there's a lot of stealth segments in Spider-Man that I feel like aren't. Like Spider-Man's stealth is not the greatest stealth in video games by any means.
Well, it's not really meant to be stealth,
but it could be.
But it could be
amazing.
That'd be cool if you had
they could make Spider-Man stealth so good.
They could.
I think they got a little closer in Miles Morales.
Which Spider-Man game was it where essentially you had a darkness meter? So if you were in the dark, they couldn't see you. I think it was like 2. You could do it. Spider-Man 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember which one that was, but Batman, the Batman Arkham games, I enjoyed its stealth quite a bit.
Well, he's a bat.
Well, he's just like a bat. But I don't know. I thought those were fun, and I wish that like that's like one of the couple things that I think Arkham does better than the Spider-Man games is that they just had better stealth. And I think that they could really superhero genre with stealth. Just like I think those kind of work hand in hand really well. So they just got
stealthy superheroes, not like the Hulk stealth.
Oh yeah, well the Hulk's not going to be doing.
I want to see the Hulk tiptoe around and sneak up on a guy.
It's like hard mode.
Oh yeah.
Just give me my Moon Knight stealth game. Actually, no, Moon Knight wouldn't do stealth either. He wants people to see him coming. So Daredevil stealth game.
Daredevil stealth would be cool.
Oh, I could get behind that. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
There was a Daredevil game. I think it was Was there? I don't remember.
There was a
was a movie tie-in game, wasn't there?
Video about a Daredevil game that was being put into that was developed at one point and it got canceled, and it was essentially Batman Arkham before Batman Arkham.
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
Yeah. Oh well. Maybe someday.
All right, so stealth games have some room.
They have some room, but also they're kind of a dead genre to begin with, so we can't kill it.
All of the really good franchises besides like Hitman are pretty dead right now. Tenchu was
What's
fun.
going to happen is this event we'll get to a point in like 20 years where all the people that grew up playing these stealth games will now be game developers, and they'll be like, when I was a kid, I played stealth games and they were really great and fun, and they just don't make them anymore. So now I'm going to make one.
When I was a kid, I played stealth games, and now that I'm an adult, I don't want to make games.
Well, some people do.
Some people do. Those people are brave.
Yes, bold and brash. But
it's hard. So
what's the next genre?
Survival games. Kill survival. I hate. Okay, so survival. I'm going to categorize this as you have that stupid bar on the bottom
with the hunger bar.
Well, you have okay. So you don't have that hunger bar, but you have the stupid bar on the bottom where you have your resources. Like Minecraft and every other crafty thing. Jeez. And then like it has crafting mechanics where you can build a house. You cut down a tree, you build a house to survive the night or whatever. You cut down some more trees, make some stuff to get more material, to make more stuff, to get more material. The stupid same loop that it's doing for every single survival game.
I still feel like, I don't have any ideas.
I don't want to look at it. I don't care if it improves.
Could expand.
I want to spite it.
It just.
I think this is the first one, actually. Like, I don't really have a rebuttal. Subnautica. No, I take that back. Subnautica is the only.
I didn't play Subnautica. That actually sounded pretty good.
Subnautica was really well done. It's still technically, you have to, instead of cutting down a tree, you have to cut down coral.
More. All right, I quit.
But Subnautica's loop with exploring the depths was really well done. I actually didn't beat it because I was playing it on oh my god, where was I playing that? Oh, Seth's computer, because I didn't actually own the game. I played it on his computer for a bit and got maybe like 6 hours into it or so, and I was enjoying every second of it. But it was the first survival game I've played in years where I was like, man, like I actually feel like I'm surviving, and I actually feel like I care about this planet, like this ecosystem, and like learning like what's going on. So we've peaked with Subnautica, obviously.
Cool, we don't need any more.
And survival could die.
That's my vote. I don't even need to go further. I'll talk about the rest, but I'm not going further. That's definitely my vote. I didn't even think about it till now because that's how much I hate survival.
That is a good vote. I'm actually kind of salty that I didn't think about that one.
All right. Ron, do you have any opinions on survival stuff?
I am not as spiteful towards survival as you guys are.
It's such a basic genre that it's had its like big tentpole games that like progressed, and
it
then
began and died with Minecraft.
Flounders.
I think it just really like it needs a almost kind of like how Breath of the Wild was to open world games. Just like that game that kind of brings something to the table that makes everyone be like, oh wait, we could do survival games like this and make it way better and less repetitive.
I don't want to waste my time crafting a billion things.
Yeah. It gets pretty tedious.
I think they can make it work. I believe.
You're very optimistic, Ryan, but it's already dead because Grep killed it. Bury it. Let's move on.
My vote. So anyway, next one I have rhythm games. Got to keep rhythm games. Love rhythm games, especially with VR on the horizon. So there's 2 rhythm games I have in mind. So any rhythm game, or there's 2 types of rhythm games. Any rhythm game with funny peripherals like Guitar Hero. I love using that. DJ Hero, Rock Band. It's awesome. So it's just fun thing to do. I don't like the button based like Miku games, stuff like that, because I just think that's kind of boring. You're just kind of listening to songs at that point. And then the second type that I really like is, I guess, essentially user generated based, like Osu and Beat Saber, where you essentially can just create beat maps and upload them and then play them. And Beat Saber does the best of both worlds because it has a funny peripheral, which is just the VR. So I mean, I don't know if
rhythm's cool.
I don't know if it can grow much more, but I would not want to snip it out.
Simple enough to just last.
Yeah.
Well, I think the way it would grow is by adding rhythm to other things. Like you have Crypt of the Necrodancer, which is
exactly
a roguelike, but with rhythm. You have Bullets Per Minute, which is a first-person shooter, but with rhythm. Yeah, I think adding rhythm to other genres is a really fun way to mix it up.
I love rhythm games.
I mean, you'll get no complaints here. I adore them.
They're fun. It's a different feel.
Yeah.
It's also usually high. Your action is usually pretty high up there because obviously if you're doing stuff to the rhythm, you're not really going to have downtime. So things don't get boring.
It has a really good difficulty curve too for really any skill level player.
Oh yeah,
from beginner to like absolute basic, like masochistic hardcore.
Yeah,
like
the difficulty levels are amazing because, I mean, it really appeals to everybody.
It has a little something for everyone.
It does. A little something.
Wow. All right, we clearly have favorites.
We do. We're so biased. I don't care. Ryan, do you have any opinion on rhythm games? You like them?
Yeah, I said I like them.
Cool.
I think they're fine.
Oh man,
I have fun. That's all that needs to be said.
So I have Metroidvania on here as an official genre.
Yeah.
Have we exhausted Metroidvania? Let's say for the purposes of this, we can keep Metroid Dread coming out.
But no Metroid after Dread?
Metroid Prime 4 doesn't exist, so
you take that back.
I know he said it exists, but it doesn't.
No Metroid 6?
And we already get Symphony of the Night, which is the best Metroid.
No more
Ryan. It took us 16 years to get Metroid 4. Metroid 5. You think we're getting a Metroid 6?
They're bringing it back. It's coming back full force.
Okay. Not if it sells poorly.
Well,
you better believe. I'm buying 3 copies of Dread.
That.
I'm doing my part.
Yeah.
I'm doing my part. Just need to you just buy a whole bunch of copies, and if you're not going to use them, then you give them to your friends for Christmas and put them in good use.
Yeah. So
everyone's getting a copy of Metroid Dread this year.
So I was poking the bear a little bit. I enjoy Metroidvanias, even if they're pretty samey. There's definitely one of those genres where there's a huge oversaturation of generic titles.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like indie titles. But then,
you can search Metroidvania on Steam and find a million hits.
Then you have gems like Hollow Knight and then Symphony of the Night and then Metroid, which are just amazing. Like, and they have their own feels.
Now and then something just comes out and kind of rises above it all. In terms of the Metroidvania.
What other Metroidvanias? What other Metroidvanias are there besides the big ones?
I mean, besides the big ones. I mean, there's a ton of indie ones
that are good. Really good. Like
I just
Outliers.
Played Ori and I enjoyed that. Tyler
but it's absolutely a Metroidvania, yeah. A bad one. So don't listen to Ryan.
I'm gonna not listen to Tip until I play it.
I think Ori is a pretty great game.
I hear nothing but good things about Ori.
I haven't played the second one yet, but I do plan on doing that at some point.
It's because people are fools.
Anyway, disregarding that opinion, I haven't even played it yet.
You played Hollow Knight, so you basically played Ori already, but like the better version of it. That's really my main complaint is that Hollow Knight exists.
Hollow Knight is really good.
I've also played Hollow Knight, and I still like Ori.
Yeah, man, I can't believe you have such bad opinions, Ryan.
I don't know.
So
I might
weird.
have to.
How are we friends?
I'm gonna play it, and then I'll tell you my opinion. I'll probably side with Ryan. I'm not super critical.
It's hard to to change up Metroidvania isn't really any way, because what you change is typically the combat system or the movement system, and then you make your Metroidvania around either of those things.
Wow.
So, like for instance, Ori has the slingshot mechanic, and so the entire game is revolving around that unique mechanic. You have Hollow Knight, which is like the combat.
Dashes, and well, it's mostly combat, yeah.
I mean, like the nail. So like the nail allows you to bounce, so you can like nail bounce and do things like that. And that the entire game is built around that combat mechanic. Like you have Dead Cells, which is a Metroidvania, but the kicker is that like, you know, when you die, you reset the Metroidvania because it's also a roguelike. So you have a weird like thing with that. But other than that, it's kind of hard to grow the genre. It's more just creating unique ways of moving around or unique ways of fighting within those environments. And I can't.
Yeah, it's hard to grow.
I can't give a good reason as to why it shouldn't be killed, besides my gut reaction of "It's my baby, please don't kill it."
All right, it's protected by the bias sphere. The bias sphere
goes in the nostalgia bin.
Oh yeah,
not even nostalgia bin. Hollow Knight's new-ish.
Yeah,
within a couple of years. So, all right, so we'll keep it. Here's one. Survival horror, and I don't think either of you are. I don't think either of you guys are really survival horror people.
Yeah, I'm not.
I am.
Dead Space.
Dead Space counts. Yeah, Dead Space totally counts.
And ends my list of survival horror games that I like.
There could be more things like Dead Space.
There could be. I wouldn't know.
I mean, Resident Evil 2 remake is pretty close. It's just not in the same setting.
Yeah, I enjoy the aesthetic and like the crazy nonsense that happens in the Resident Evil games, but I find it hard to actually play them. But I will say that 7 and 8, anything besides 7 and 8, so before 7 and 8, that's
a hot take in the RE community.
I know, but that's because I like the first person's perspective of 7 and 8. I like how it's more of like a I don't want to say shooter, but like in the veins of like a slower paced shooter.
Yeah.
While 1 and 2 particularly are really puzzle games with horror elements, and then 3 I don't really know enough about.
I don't know about that.
4 changes a lot of the systems to be more combat oriented, which people either adore or hate.
I mean, the puzzles in Resident Evil are never really that puzzly. They're just kind of there for atmosphere.
The mansions themselves or the environments themselves being the puzzle of like how do you
navigate without getting yourself killed. I can see that. I personally love survival horror just because of the resource management, and resource management is really the only thing you need to make things tense. You're like, do I waste ammo on fighting certain enemies or do I save it? It's like
just high resources in general.
Or your resources. Yeah. And then like there's also a huge exploration part for survival horror. I don't even know if I'd consider Resident Evil 5 or 4, 5, and 6 to be survival horror. I think, I don't know, maybe more action horror. It's not even 5 and 6 are definitely not really horror. 4 like is on that boundary.
It straddles the line.
But it's definitely more action, adventure-y. But definitely like the retro style, like so remake 2 and then like 1, 2, and 3, of course, and then 7 and 8 are more survival horror for sure. Mostly because of that resource management thing and like the exploration aspects, and it's just a really fun loop to me. And most survival horror games are shorter and meant to be replayed with like unlockables. Like Silent Hill, I'm playing through Silent Hill now, and it's just the atmospheres they provide are really, really like engaging as compared to like horror games, like standard horror games where you can't defend yourself, like Amnesia and stuff. I mean, Amnesia was fun, but everything else, it's like, okay, so I can't defend myself. It's literally they feel all the same. Where
hide and seek simulator,
hiding and seeking, yeah. Plus, they mostly rely on jump scares, I feel, to get you.
Yeah, survival horror is a lot of tension to it.
It's a lot of tension, yeah.
You never know what's around the next corner and whether you should shoot it, run from it. How do you deal with that? While the regular horror games are like just, basic horror games, it's you have one interaction, which is run.
Yeah.
So it feels a little samey to me.
And so I think there's a lot of room to be grown, especially like seeing with Resident Evil Remake 2 was one of the most highly regarded games like ever recently. And I think using that kind of formula, you can do a lot of things with it. Using like a third person over the shoulder modern survival horror, you can do a lot of stuff with that. I feel just with settings and like maybe combat mechanics. I mean, even like just bring Dead Space into a modern set, like a more modern engine.
That's technically happening.
It is.
I don't remember if he was like lead developer, he was like the story lead, but one of the people that worked on Dead Space is working on a new game, which I believe is called like Calypso Protocol or something similar to that.
I've heard of that.
It was revealed, I believe, during the VGAs like 2 years ago. And it looked extremely Dead Space, and that's the reason why. I'm pretty excited for that. But then apparently EA has had like whisperings of that the Dead Space franchise isn't actually dead. So if they end up doing like some like weird Dead Space reboot or like Dead Space 4, it would blow my mind. And I would play it just for the name alone.
Well, as long as they stick to their survival horror roots.
Yeah.
But
Ryan, I don't play a lot of survival horror games, but I would allow it to exist.
I love them.
They're cool.
They're unique. Ryan, have you played any survival horror games?
No, I know of them because I've watched other people play through them, but I've not played them myself.
They're good. They're very fun.
They do seem like a lot of fun though. But
and they don't require much commitment. Like I think even on a slow playthrough, most Resident Evils are like less than 10 hours.
Yeah.
And on a fast playthrough, you can get it done in like 2 hours. It's insane.
Speed run.
Once you're good.
All right, so we keep that. We ain't got much left, I don't think. MMORPGs. Have we peaked? I know Tip, you think like Tip's a big Final Fantasy 14 guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's still a lot of life in that game.
I think MMOs can like I think they need a huge combat revamp. Because I can't
just don't play something like that's GCD heavy, like or sorry, global cooldown heavy for those that like don't know MMO terms, but things like WoW and Final Fantasy 14, their combat system is based on the cooldowns, and the cooldowns are off of a global cooldown. So you always have to wait at least, a set amount of time between actions. Other MMOs don't do that, and that's what a lot of other companies have tried to do, like set their own niche away from Final Fantasy 14 or away from WoW. And I think there's a lot of room for growth for that. There's one that I'm looking forward to, Lost Ark, that's supposed to be localized for the West later this year. And it's basically Diablo with that isometric action RPG feel, but it's an MMO styled thing where like you would do dungeon runs with a bunch of different people, go back to a town hub and interact with everyone. So it's effectively Diablo, but MMO styled. And you'd be getting rid of that like global cooldown that a lot of people,
that'd be
bounce off of.
Do you consider Destiny an MMO?
No.
RPG? Oh, it's not definitely an MMORPG.
Yeah. Like because it requires the M portion to be an MMO. So
massive.
Destiny.
It's definitely not massive, I guess.
Like 12 people or 16 people per instance, and you can never really interact with too many people at once. Now it's effectively like a really large multiplayer lobby compared to like COD or like Battlefield. Actually not Battlefield, but like regular shooters, things like that. But I wouldn't necessarily call it an MMO, but it has very clear MMO leanings and MMO influences.
There's stuff like, at least in the like, you can go out in the world and do the random world events with other people, just like without partying up or anything. You just like walk up and do stuff with them, which is cool.
I mean, I can see literally hundreds to thousands of people in WoW or 14.
That's true.
And I think that's what's really required for the MMO portion.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'd say that the WoW style of games, so like the global cooldown style of games, is definitely dying off because, I mean, ironically, WoW was dying off. Like it's losing its fan base heavily right now. There's actually like huge controversies with the story and like the way the team is taking that game. That's like broken in the last week. So like that style of game is dying, but I think because that style of game is dying, MMOs could have a huge resurgence in just any other type of game set in an MMO type space.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely think there's always going to be a room for massively multiplayer things. It's just like having that huge sense of scale is a good draw to it. So I want to keep that.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks because the last like 3 genres we've done, Ryan can't.
I know you
can't
don't
chime in.
You're very you have a very narrow sense of genre scope.
I'm a narrow guy.
You're a narrow guy.
You are a narrow guy. God, you're so tall.
Thank you.
I
try my best.
Well, you tried too hard.
So it's running out of stuff. You want to do horror and then call it there?
Well, I have
what do you
2
think?
that I had in mind. Which one of them was horror.
All right, let's do horror and then we'll go to your last one.
Yeah. It could die.
We kind of touched on horror. I think horror can die. I don't think they're bringing anything to the table. The only thing that they could bring to the table would be more mechanics to like fight back and do things with the monster, which makes it survival horror instead of horror. So
or action horror.
Or action, I guess action horror. Isn't action horror just survival horror?
I would say survival horror would be
based.
underneath like an action horror,
I guess,
umbrella.
Yeah.
Umbrella.
Funny. Pun of the day. Yeah, I don't think horror has anything going for it. I know some people are really into horror. It's like a big streamer thing, but
we were gonna have a nice big fat horror game with PT, and then they killed it.
Yeah, so since PT is dead, there's no reason to have horror anymore.
It's kind of crazy.
That's a fact.
That PT was what, 2016?
It was mid 2010s.
15? I can't remember what year that was. But since PT happens, can either of you name a big horror game that like wowed the population? Because PT was like
that
crack.
Wowed.
Yeah, because everyone who even heard of PT or played it was just like, this is phenomenal. I can't wait for Silent Hill. And then, Konami decided to cancel it because they're the worst. But since that title, has there been a really huge horror title that's just, taken the gaming community by storm?
I can't think of one.
Yeah, I don't have one off the top of my head. Maybe someday Kojima will make one as good as PT and his with his new independent studio.
Yeah, like an actual horror game. That'd
like
be cool.
An actual horror game.
I think he could do that very well. His style. He'd probably do a better survival horror though.
Crap, Phasmophobia. That's actually
that's fair. What it brought to the table though was so it brought multiplayer to the table, like a decent multi. So Phasmophobia is a low budget game, and you can definitely see it's low budget, but it definitely brought less jump scares. So I'd say that's like not jump scary at all. Objective based, so you can actually do some strategy with finding out what the ghost is, and then you also have the multiplayer aspect, which is a ton of fun. So that did something unique, and I'm very impressed with that. So maybe it does.
Is that enough though? Is that enough to save the genre?
I think so, because all we need is a higher budget Phasmophobia. Because Phasmophobia, it gets old after a little bit. You definitely game the system. So if it had more time to like flesh out AI and mechanics, I think it could be fantastic, like really, really good. So I think there's hope there, and definitely I think horror needs to get away from the jump scares, because I hate jump scares. I'm a very jumpy person.
I think it's just because like in the moment it gets your heart racing, and then you think about it and you're like, wow, that wasn't really earned. It caused a very
yelled at your
physical
face.
reaction because it just screamed in your face. Here's a good question though. Here's my crackhead thought of the day. Is Among Us a horror game?
No.
Among Us.
Among Us is I don't even know what you'd call it, like a social game. I don't know. It's a game whose mechanics almost entirely rely upon the social aspect.
Yeah, I don't know
A moga.
what genre that really falls into. It's just multiplayer. I guess.
I mean, there's like a whole group of like who's the wolf sort of thing, but that's a
It's
really
called
niche genre.
online multiplayer social deduction game.
Social deduction. I like social deduction. That's fair.
Yeah.
Was that your other category you wanted to talk about?
No. It was more just I was thinking about it because
Oh.
like the imposter being a thing, like, and you're kind of technically being hunted, and you're like suspicious of everyone. I wasn't sure if that would be considered horror or not. Like, that was a legitimate question. Like, could you conceive that as, since everyone's kind of sort of being hunted, is that like horror?
Eh, it can be
You
tense.
know,
I
I
don't know.
guess
It could.
I guess if you gave it really scary graphics, people would call it horror. But because it looks like a cartoon, we don't.
I think it could be horror. That
But
style for
if
sure.
it were
Yeah.
3D, if it were 3D, same idea, but 3D, and the imposters were actually scary and the kills were scary, then people probably would consider it horror. But it's not styled in horror, so we don't think about it as that.
Good point. Yeah.
All
It'd be
right.
interesting to do like
It would.
a version of that where it is more horror styled and like very atmospheric on like that derelict ship and everything. And you're like trying to turn the lights back on, and all of a sudden the door closes behind you. You're like, well, I'm dead.
I'm sure there
Yeah,
already
if
is
they
a game
incorporate like a
that.
stress meter or something, that'd be cool. Like if you're in the dark a lot, get higher stress. If something like spooky, you witness spooky events, get higher stress. Because that's what phasmophobia does. Like the more you are in the dark and more spooky stuff that happens, your sanity goes down, makes the ghost more aggressive.
Mhm.
So it could give buffs or something. That'd be cool.
With how like popular Among Us is, I can't imagine that there isn't something out there like that already. Like,
We'll
you
have
think
to.
that makes sense, but I don't know what it is.
Clearly, it's not popular enough for anyone to care, because otherwise
Yes.
people would be talking about it.
True.
Yeah. All right. Let's start wrapping this up.
We didn't talk
What
about life simulators
do you mean life simulators like Sims?
like Sims or Animal Crossing or
Oh, good point.
stuff like that.
So like what else is in that genre? Is that just a simulation genre?
I guess just like anything where it's like living day by day kind of.
So like Stardew Valley,
Yeah, Stardew Valley kind of falls into that. Even
Animal Crossing, Harvest Moon.
You can count the other things too, like Farming Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator and things like that, because that's
Are those
really
day by day as well? I
yeah,
guess
those
those
are like
yeah.
those are day by day, like doing like
That's
basically
like
a job.
that's like the really intense end of it.
Yeah.
So I guess like yeah, life simulation stuff. I mean, as algorithms and AI improve, you can do a lot more stuff with how the AI interacts with each other, especially with like Sims. So I mean, there's room to grow. Apparently, the most recent Sims wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, they just gotta fix that. A lot of people like Sims. I don't care for it too much. I also haven't been an Animal Crossing fan since the GameCube version. I guess I played a little bit of the Wii version too.
I'm quite a fan of the Switch one, and I will say, having played Animal Crossing for like DS and through the 3DS one, I wasn't really sure where they would go and what they could do to expand on it, and the Switch version really really expanded in a way that I wasn't expecting, but also like worked perfectly for me. I was like, oh, this is like exactly what it needed.
I think the terraforming is pretty cool with the island.
Yeah, and
You can do
everything and a lot of stuff now is like based around crafting. Like, you have
crafting.
Your trigger word.
I hate crafting.
You have the furniture that you can only get at like the store through the Nooks or whatever, but you also can like craft stuff through, smacking trees or hitting rocks. And collecting items from like seasonal events and stuff like that, and it opened it up a lot in a way. And being able to put furniture outdoors also just allowed you to
outdoor furniture is cool. That expands everything. I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So I like and now I sit here and I think, where would Animal Crossing possibly go from there? I don't have any idea, but like that's what I thought before New Horizons as well. So I I think there must be room to grow, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with keeping that. Oh, I think. What do you think? Do you think like Roller Coaster Tycoon and stuff could go into that? Amusement park sims, because that kind of goes day by day.
Yeah,
I
haven't played one of those in forever.
I love amusement park sims. I did.
And I feel like we haven't really gotten a good one lately.
Not really.
I feel like the one that everyone plays is still Roller Coaster Tycoon 3.
That's the one I didn't like 3 more than 2. But I kind of like the simplistic nature of like the old graphics and stuff like that, though. So
they're charming. Yeah,
they're charming. I played a good amount of 3 though. I hate most of the designs that they do with like coaster sims are gross. I hate the way the people look. They look like Play-Doh people. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Make them look like anime girls. Come on, guys, let's go.
That's honestly that's not too bad of an idea. Just give us some stylized people. Don't make them generic. Yeah. Like they look like corporate art styles.
Oh my god, they are like little corporate logos, aren't they? It's walking disgusting. Around the park. You've ruined that for me.
That's why the old ones are just little pixels.
Yeah. Damn it, Grip. That's exactly what they are.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't think of it until now. But no, I think there's lots of room for that sort of simulation stuff. So
yeah, I would agree.
Well, we didn't touch sports games.
I don't play sports games, so I have absolutely no opinion.
I play Forza, which is racing, which is sports.
I play Mario Strikers Charged.
I played Madden 06.
Yeah, I'm not much of a
and then there's I don't know if there's much room to grow. I feel like anything they could have done, they've done it already. Especially with like they've had like career stuff since like 06, even before that, where you could have an entire career of your team and do stuff with them and like analyze their performance. And I feel like racing games are kind of plateauing too. I feel like Forza 3 was so in depth that I haven't played Forza 5 or 6. So I guess I should look into that. I can't make a good.
What's the new game that's set in Mexico? Is that also Forza?
That's Horizon. That's more arcadey. Forza Horizon 3 or 4.
I think it's 4.
Because that looked pretty cool.
That's more arcadey, whereas Forza Motorsport is more simulation, like car sim. You can fine tune literally. I don't know if you can fine tune everything in Horizon, but I like the actual race, like the actual races.
Yeah. In terms of realistic racers, there's only really so far you can go with it.
Yeah.
Until it starts becoming an unrealistic racer, and then that's you're opening up new stuff. But
yeah. Tip, what was your
stay?
I can't make a good judgment on it. I think they should. I think there's probably. I would rather get rid of what did I say? Get rid of. I'd rather get rid of survival. Yeah, hands down.
MOBAs was my final
MOBAs.
one.
I think MOBAs can. I think they can grow. I want it to die though. It took up too much of my life. I played too much Dota and League.
I would also vote to delete MOBAs.
Wow.
I'm not voting for MOBAs. But
I don't know. That's 2 versus 1. Actually, I take that back.
It doesn't have to be a 2 versus 1 thing. We can all just say what we want. It doesn't. There's no consequences to this.
There are definitely consequences because whichever one we all 3 agree on tomorrow, our wish is granted. the monkey's paw curls, and something gets deleted.
So I mean, I can still play Dota 2, which is what I've been playing anyway. So no new MOBAs come out. That's not a problem for me.
It is true, yeah.
But I'd rather, I don't know. I'd rather just get rid of survival games altogether. They're painful for me.
So you're going survival. Ryan, are you picking MOBA as your final?
Ryan doesn't even play MOBAs.
No, I don't play MOBA.
You've never played a MOBA.
No.
At least
They
seriously.
don't look very interesting.
It's the 5v5. It's like a chess match.
I think I've ever seen someone play a MOBA and be happy while doing it. So
that's not true. I mean, it's
that's
hard.
Totally true. Are you kidding me? No one's ever happy playing League or Dota.
I lived with you guys for like
I know
3 years, and I don't think I ever remember you playing a Dota game and being happy about it.
So addiction is rough.
All right. So then, which is more toxic, or which is more addicting, Battle Royale or MOBA?
Well, the kids are definitely more. I mean, I think they're both equally addictive, but Battle Royale being the new flavor of the week has hooked the kids, the youthful generation.
Wow, that's a long week since 2016.
Yes, and then before that was MOBAs, or I think before that was Hero Shooter for a little bit. So Overwatch.
I think one of the things that Battle Royales have over like MOBAs is aren't Battle Royales usually much like faster paced, and then you
yes, and
yes,
and if you die, you can just leave.
It's much easier to sit down and say, "Oh, I'll just play one more," because they're not as long.
Just play one.
It's not as much of a commitment.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. The time commitment for MOBAs is a pain, especially if there definitely are games where it's practically unwinnable. I mean, it's rare, but some people like say the game's lost in like the first 5 seconds, which is generally not true. But there are scenarios where it's going to be just a terrible, terrible game, and you can't do anything about it, or else you get punished with like a ban or something. So you have to sit through, and it's like a minimum of like 15 minutes or so. Even if you do nothing, it's like 15 minutes. Like all you sitting in base.
Interesting. Yeah.
You can't surrender in League until you have. I think it's a unanimous surrender at 10, or unanimous surrender at 15, and then a majority at 20.
Yeah.
So it's a time commitment no matter what.
Yeah.
Battle Royale, go in, die. Well, guess I'm done.
Yes, but you can have a match that lasts literally 30 seconds.
But yeah. All right. Tip, would you say you're erasing?
It's nothing we've talked about because I'm a wild card like that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm personally deleting roguelikes because I'm so tired of seeing roguelikes in the Steam store or like any online store. I hate seeing it because there's so many of them. I want to clean up the stores so I can find other games better.
It's so oversaturated. I agree with that.
So it's completely a spite pick. I understand that. I'm a biased bitch, but it's still my choice.
I mean, I'm personally okay with that because I need Binding of Isaac, and nothing else really.
Yeah, look, it had its heyday. It's had Spelunky. It's had Binding of Isaac. We got Hades just recently, which was phenomenal.
Binding of Isaac and Hades are the only thing we need.
Really good. We got Enter the Gungeon, which I also enjoyed.
Enter the Gungeon is definitely fun.
And then the final one, Crypt of the Necrodancer. You can pick any of those roguelikes, and you've basically fit anyone who enjoys that genre into one of those games. So we don't need any more. Get rid of them. Delete it.
Good point.
Wipe them from the face of the earth.
Oh yeah.
Wipe this meme off the face of the earth. All right.
Ryan, what was your choice?
Oh wait.
Are you sticking with MOBAs?
Just because he doesn't play it?
Doesn't play it? Another spite choice?
He's not thinking of others.
Yeah, MOBAs are my spite choice.
Wow. So two of us are spiteful, and Grep is
he
followed the actual.
I don't have a genre that I
I'm still spiteful.
I don't have like a genre that I think is like oversaturated to the point that I think it needs to go. Like, I mean, right now I'd be like, what is oversaturated right now? I guess it would be Battle Royales, but like that'll come and go because it always does.
Well, aren't you rosy and optimistic?
Yeah.
We need spite. How dare you?
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, guys. This has been the Spiteful Podcast. Remember to like, follow, and share this, wherever you're listening to, whether on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever. And remember to tune in next time, because next time we're going to be talking about
something else.
Something else we haven't decided yet. Bye.
Bye.